Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. The Lament bass, a beautiful descending chromatic figure, or the Omnibus chord progression, which is an even more expanded version of the same. Well, let's take a look at those ideas today. Sometime during the 70s, Olivia Newton-John, the great pop singer who just passed away, had a hit called I Honestly Love You. And like a lot of songs in the 70s, it used a great trick. We're in B flat here. And she says, and then that's an F chord over an A. And then A flat, and then E flat over G. Do you see the bass going down? B flat, C7 over E, E flat over E flat, and then the B flat over the D. Do you see the way this bass line descends chromatically? Well, not quite chromatically. It's pop music after all. And yet mostly chromatically. It's a very powerful tool for creating a sense of falling sadness and yearning. And yet the chords themselves, let's play them in root position. B flat, F, A flat, E flat. Do you see what's happening? These roots are falling in more or less fourths, alternating fourths. Can you guess what chord should be next? G minor to D. Can you guess what should be next? F to C, etc., etc. Well, using a chromatic bass to solve that chord progression is a really common thing. In fact, a fully chromatic version of that goes back a long, long way. Henry Purcell's Dido and Aeneas, which is a beautiful short opera and actually makes an excellent introduction to Baroque opera, one of the really kind of first actual operas, uses this version of a chromatic bass. We're in G here, and I'm going to look at it, I'm going to play it, and we'll talk it through as we go, but I think I'll record it as we do so that we can analyze it after the fact. All right, so it begins with falling off G minor to the F sharp, F, E, E flat, D, and that's kind of down to the 5, and then a turnaround, and then this is the introduction, and here's that falling. Beautiful. Beautiful falling. Beautiful. That's probably enough. You can see that the falling motion there creates an elegant pleading sound. And in classical music, we call it the lament bass. There's our bottom G, and then G, F sharp, F, E, E flat, D. There's an even more elaborate and kind of theoretically interesting version of that we call the Omnibus chord progression. And here's the most extreme example of it I've seen. This is a G, and as you can see, it descends chromatically down, 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 down. Starts on a G7 chord and then falls down. G7 falling down to B minor over the F sharp, falling down to G7, really not so unusual. E7, now the E is in the bass, G sharp minor, definitely related to E7, falling down to E7 again. You see the little partnerings of things that are happening here? D flat 7, F minor, D flat 7. Again, a partnering, a relationship between the two. There's up a major third, back down again, and it happens again here and here. It's a really interesting contraction and expansion. In other words, G7 to the B minor to the G7, and then E7 to the G sharp minor to the E7. They're all partner chords. D flat 7 to the F minor to the D flat 7. B flat 7 to the D minor to the B flat 7. And then the whole thing starts all over again. Look at the roots. G, E, D flat, B flat. And I'm going to point out, and we'll look at it here. G, let's do this. E, E, we can really see them this way. Did you hear that? That was a diminished chord going down. Symmetries are really, really powerful around things like this. Now, okay, I've put you off long enough. Listen to how amazing this sounds. G7, B minor, G7. E7, G sharp minor, E7. D flat 7. And then the diminished or minor, and then another D flat 7, B flat 7, D minor, B flat 7 over the 7th, and then G7. G7 is the 5 of Hallelujah. In a way, this is a fantastic example of what we call prolongation, of taking a dominant chord and just stretching and stretching and stretching and stretching and stretching, kind of a late romantic conception. Well, you know, there are lots of solutions. In fact, when we looked at the Dido example, the chromatic lamenting bass line fell just down to 5 and then came back again. In fact, that's the most normal thing. You can find examples of it in the Beatles and pop music of pretty much every period. It's fun to play around with for yourself. Here's a few. C, C major 7. Beautiful transposition there. Opening out, chromatic bass line. Parallel motion I don't like, and then it goes back to C. And here's another one, perhaps a little bit better. Very sensible. C to G7. B flat 7. That's a great moment, right? Do you love that sound there? The B flat 7 D minor sound? I love that. This, O, B flat 7. And it's using that same kind of rule that we saw in the earlier one there. That falling bass, that gradually chromatically descending bass, the sense of lament, and also the sophisticated tonic dominant relationships that we get out of both the omnibus chord progression and the lament bass really creates an air of sort of intelligent harmonic language. And yet, really what we're doing is just falling down the chromatic scale. Examine your chord progressions for opportunities for these kinds of things. Almost any chord progression will present some potential for a falling line. And after all, as chords progress, they really like to fall down. This is an extreme example, and it's suitable mostly for melancholy, I guess I would just say that, or creating extended tension in the case of the omnibus chord progression, like Wagner, who just never really allows us to get home. It's just one kind of dominant system after another, linked by, in this case, symmetrical tonal centers. Listen, I hope it's been useful. Like and subscribe and ding the bell. You'll be notified when I do my videos, and I will see you next time.